The palace floated high above a bright, glowing star. Its towers shone with colors humans had never seen. Inside, the halls were filled with alien nobles, their eyes wide and shining, their clothes glittering like tiny stars. Humans were rare in this place and most of the palace staff looked down on them. Among them was a young human maid named Elara. She moved quietly along the corridors, her small frame almost invisible among the towering aliens. But Elara had a secret. She was not just a maid, she was trained in medicine. She kept this hidden, knowing that most aliens would never respect a human's skills. The palace was alive with celebration. Today was the Emperor's anniversary, and thousands of aliens had gathered in the Grand Hall. Elara carried trays of food and drink, but her eyes were always alert, scanning the room for anything unusual. The Emperor, a large, elegant alien with scales that shimmered like gold, sat on his throne. His crown sparkled and his eyes shone with authority. No one dared to approach him without permission. Elara knew better than to get too close. Suddenly the Emperor's body trembled. His golden eyes widened and he clutched his chest. A sharp sound like metal bending echoed through the hall. The music stopped. The aliens froze. Gasps filled the air. Some stepped back unsure what to do. Others panicked, knocking over trays and scattering in all directions. The Emperor's throne began to tilt. His voice, usually strong and commanding, became weak, almost a whisper. "Elara," a voice shouted. It was the head steward, a tall alien with many eyes. "Get the human. She is a medic." Elara's heart raced, but her hands were steady. She ran through the crowd, pushing trays aside. Aliens stared, confused. How could a human help an emperor? But Elara did not stop. She jumped onto the small platform where the Emperor lay. His breathing was shallow and his golden scales were losing their shine. "I'm a medic." "Calm down," she shouted, her voice loud enough to silence the hall. The aliens stared at her in shock. A human speaking so boldly in front of the Emperor? Some whispered to each other, afraid to move. Elara quickly assessed the situation. The Emperor's heart, a large glowing organ in his chest, was faltering. His life signs were unstable. She did not panic. She had trained for emergencies like this, though never in front of such a crowd. She opened her small medical kit, pulling out instruments and a small injector filled with stabilizing serum. One of the Emperor's guards stepped forward, his clawed hands trembling. "Wait. Only palace medics." "No time." Elara snapped. She gently placed her hands on the Emperor's chest, feeling the weak rhythm of his heart. She injected the serum carefully, whispering to herself as she worked. Her fingers moved quickly and precisely, adjusting tiny dials on the Emperor's chest device. Aliens gasped as lights blinked and machines hummed. The Emperor coughed, his body trembling violently. Sweat appeared on his scales. The hall held its breath. Elara continued, checking his breathing, adjusting the injector, and using small tools she had learned to operate. She remembered every lesson from her training, the pressure points, the timing, the signals to watch. One wrong move could cost him his life. Time seemed to stretch. The crowd was silent. Some aliens were hiding behind pillars, peeking to see if the human would succeed. Others looked on with disbelief. A young alien child stepped closer, fascinated, whispering, "Can humans really save him?" Elara ignored the whispers. She focused entirely on the Emperor. Slowly, his breathing began to stabilize. The trembling in his chest eased. His golden scales started to shimmer faintly again. His eyes, once wide with fear, blinked slowly. The head steward rushed forward, kneeling beside Elara. You saved him," he said, almost unable to believe it. Elara gave a small nod. "He's not out of danger yet. We must monitor him closely." The Emperor's eyes opened fully. He looked at Elara. His voice, though weak, was full of surprise and respect. "Human, you saved me?" Elara smiled faintly. "Yes, Your Majesty. Just stay calm and breathe. I'll take care of you." The hall erupted in whispers. Some aliens bowed, others clapped, unsure if this was allowed. The young maid, once invisible, had become the center of attention. But she did not let it bother her. Her duty was clear: keep the Emperor alive. That was enough. As the palace slowly returned to order, Elara stayed beside the Emperor, her hands ready, her mind alert. She knew this was only the beginning. Something in the air told her that danger was not finished. But for now, she had done what no one expected. A human maid had saved the life of the mighty alien Emperor. Elara stayed close to the Emperor, her hands steady as she watched his chest rise and fall. The golden glow of his scales returned slowly, but she knew his heart was still weak. The palace medics, a group of tall, multi-eyed aliens, finally arrived. They looked at her with surprise and suspicion. One of them, a silver-scaled healer, whispered, "How did a human do this?" Elara ignored them. "He's not out of danger yet," she said firmly. "We need to monitor his vitals and keep him calm." The Emperor, still seated on his throne, blinked at her. His voice was soft but full of authority. "Human, I owe you my life. What is your name?" "Elara, your majesty," she replied. Her voice was calm, but inside she felt a rush of pride. For the first time her skills were recognized, not hidden. The palace medics began their work, but their methods were slow and careful. They followed long alien protocols that made little sense to Elara. She quickly realized they would not be enough to stabilize the Emperor fully. The heart device embedded in his chest, a glowing, complex machine, was damaged. If it failed again, the Emperor could die. Elara examined the device. It was unlike anything humans normally had, but her medical training, combined with her curiosity and intelligence, gave her confidence. She touched the cool metal, checking its pulses. "It's malfunctioning. I can fix it," she told the medics. They gasped. One of them hissed, "A human? You cannot." "I can," she said firmly. "Step back." Elara opened her small toolkit and took out a tiny stabilizer she had secretly built for emergencies. Using her knowledge of both human medicine and the basic principles of alien technology, she carefully adjusted the heart device. Her hands moved quickly and confidently, connecting wires and pressing controls. She whispered to herself, reminding herself of each step she had learned. The Emperor shivered, his body tense. His eyes widened as he felt a strange warmth and rhythm returning to his chest. "What are you doing?" he asked, weakly but curiously. "I'm fixing your heart, your majesty." "Stay calm," Elara said softly. Minutes passed like hours. The palace medics watched in awe as the human moved with speed and precision. Her small hands adjusted the device, injected small doses of stabilizing serum, and recalibrated the pulses. Slowly the Emperor's breathing grew steadier. The color in his scales returned fully, shining like polished gold. The crowd outside the throne room had heard about the rescue. Guards allowed them to peek inside. They saw the human, small and determined, standing over the Emperor with complete focus. Many could not believe their eyes. A human was saving the life of the greatest being in the Empire. Suddenly the heart device flickered. Lights blinked red. Alarms buzzed. The Emperor's chest shook violently. Elara's heart skipped a beat, but she did not panic. She quickly adjusted the device's control panel, pressing the right sequence of buttons she had memorized from observation and her training. She tapped a hidden sensor on the Emperor's chest, and a soft hum filled the room. Slowly the device stabilized. The red warning lights turned green. The Emperor exhaled, his body finally relaxing. "Incredible, human, you." His voice trailed off. He looked at her with awe and respect. "I have never seen anyone save a life with such skill." Elara smiled faintly, though exhaustion was beginning to weigh on her. "I just know how to help, your majesty. That's all." The palace medics now bowed to her, their earlier arrogance replaced with admiration. One whispered, "Perhaps humans are more capable than we thought." The Emperor slowly stood. His tall frame, still recovering, towered above Elara. "You have my gratitude. Your courage and skill are extraordinary." He reached into a small pouch and produced a glowing crystal. "This is a token of my trust. You have proven yourself beyond any doubt." Elara accepted it respectfully. "Thank you, your majesty. But I only did my duty." The crowd outside cheered softly. Word spread quickly, a human maid had saved the Emperor. Some aliens began whispering among themselves, reconsidering their prejudices about humans. Elara took a deep breath and looked around. She noticed subtle changes in the palace. The guards were more alert, the medics more cooperative, and the nobles watched her with a mixture of fear and respect. She realized that her life as a simple maid was no longer the same. Her skills had earned her recognition that humans rarely received in alien society. Yet even as the hall returned to calm, Elara's mind was alert. Something felt off. The Emperor's heart failure had been sudden, too sudden for natural causes. She remembered small anomalies she had noticed during the ceremony, a flicker of light near the throne, a whisper among the nobles, and the strange hesitation of one of the medics. Someone had wanted to harm the Emperor. Elara's eyes narrowed. She knew her work was not finished. Saving the Emperor had been only the first step. She would need to watch, learn, and prepare for what came next. But for now she allowed herself a small moment of satisfaction. A human maid had saved the life of the mighty alien emperor, and the empire would never forget it. After the emperor's recovery the palace seemed calm. But Alara did not feel calm at all. Something about the heart failure did not make sense. The emperor had been healthy moments before the ceremony, yet his heart had nearly stopped. Her instincts told her that this was not an accident. Alara began watching the palace closely. She moved quietly through the corridors, cleaning rooms, delivering trays, and keeping her eyes open for anything unusual. Most aliens ignored her, thinking she was just a human maid. This worked to her advantage. She could observe without being noticed. One evening, while delivering a tray of food to the emperor's private chamber, she noticed a small device under the throne. It was hidden among the polished gold and glowing crystals. Alara knelt quietly, examining it with her trained eyes. This was not part of the emperor's medical devices. Its design was sharp and mechanical, clearly made to interfere with the heart device. Someone had planted it to cause the collapse. Her heart raced, but she remained calm. Whoever had done this was clever and patient. They had used the ceremony to hide their actions, knowing all eyes would be on the emperor. Alara carefully removed the device and hid it in her apron. She could not let anyone see it yet. If the wrong person discovered she knew, it could put her in danger. Later, she approached the emperor's private physician, the silver-scaled healer who had doubted her skills before. Someone tried to harm the emperor, she whispered, showing him the device. This was causing his heart failure. The healer's many eyes widened. Impossible, but, yes. This could explain the failure. He paused, looking around nervously. If others find out, the palace will be in chaos. You must be careful. Alara nodded. She knew that palace politics were dangerous. The emperor had enemies among the nobles, rivals who wanted power. But why target his life now? And why use such a strange method? The next day, Alara continued her duties, but she kept watch for anyone acting suspiciously. She noticed a young alien servant sneaking around the emperor's chambers, pretending to clean but often glancing at the throne. Something about his movements seemed unnatural. She decided to follow him quietly. He moved to a hidden door behind a tapestry and entered a secret room. Alara peeked from the shadows. Inside, she saw a group of aliens gathered around strange machinery. They were whispering urgently and examining glowing blueprints. One of them, a tall noble with black scales, held a small device identical to the one she had found. Alara realized the truth. This was a conspiracy. These aliens planned to harm the emperor again. They were clever, using technology and secrecy to hide their intentions. And if they succeeded, the empire would fall into chaos. Alara's mind worked quickly. She needed allies, but she could trust very few. The palace medics were loyal, but some of the guards might be involved. She needed someone the conspirators would not suspect. She thought of the young emperor's aide, a quiet alien who had helped her before. Maybe he could assist without drawing attention. That night, she met the aide in the gardens under the glow of the twin moons. She whispered everything she had learned and showed him the hidden device. His eyes widened, but he nodded gravely. We must act carefully. If they know we suspect them, they will strike sooner. Alara and the aide began planning. They would need to watch the conspirators, gather evidence, and protect the emperor. The human maid who had saved the emperor's life was now tasked with preventing an attack that could destroy the empire. Days passed and the tension grew. Alara learned to move like a shadow, slipping through corridors and listening to hushed conversations. She discovered small clues, secret meetings in empty chambers, coded messages carried by minor servants, and subtle changes in the emperor's schedule. Each detail painted a clearer picture of the danger surrounding him. One evening, while examining the emperor's chambers, Alara noticed a device blinking faintly under a decorative panel. She quickly recognized it as another sabotage tool, similar to the first one. Her heart pounded. The conspirators had prepared multiple devices, hoping to succeed eventually. Alara knew she could not wait for the next attack. She needed to act before the emperor's life was in danger again. But she also knew it would be risky. If the conspirators discovered her interference, they might target her directly. Still, she did not hesitate. Her training, courage, and sense of duty were stronger than her fear. She carefully removed the device, hiding it again in her apron. She glanced toward the emperor, who was resting peacefully, unaware of the danger still lurking in his palace. Alara whispered to herself, I saved him once. I will save him again. The human maid, once invisible in the grand palace, was now a silent guardian. Her intelligence and bravery had revealed a hidden threat. The conspiracy was real and the palace was no longer safe. But Alara was ready. She would protect the Emperor no matter what it took. As the night grew quiet, she stood in the shadows watching over the palace. Somewhere among the glittering towers and silent corridors, the conspirators were planning their next move. Ilara's eyes narrowed. She would not let them succeed. Humanity had proven its courage once, and it would do so again. Ilara moved silently through the palace corridors. Her heart was steady, but her mind raced. The conspiracy was real, and now she knew they would strike again. She had hidden the second sabotage device, but she had to find the conspirators before they could harm the Emperor. The palace was massive, with corridors that twisted and turned, floating walkways, and doors that opened with strange alien codes. Most humans would have been lost here, but Ilara had memorized the layout. Her small size helped her move quickly and unnoticed. Guards and nobles passed by, unaware of the human Maid tracking danger through their palace. She spotted the young alien servant from before, the one she had followed. He moved quickly, carrying something hidden under his robe. Ilara recognized the object, another device meant to harm the Emperor. She ran silently behind him, keeping to the shadows. The servant turned into a narrow corridor leading to the palace's anti-gravity chamber. The chamber was a dangerous place. Floors and walls shifted constantly, powered by hovering mechanisms that made it hard to move. Many creatures had fallen here before. Ilara did not hesitate. She jumped onto a floating platform, adjusting her balance carefully. The servant did not notice her. As she followed him, she realized more of the conspiracy was involved. 2 other aliens appeared from hidden doors. They were tall and armed with strange tools that could interfere with the Emperor's heart device from a distance. Ilara knew she had to act fast. She could not let them escape. Using her small size and quick reflexes, she leapt from platform to platform, silently closing the distance. The alien's attention was on the corridor ahead. She could see the device glowing faintly under the servant's robe. Every second counted. Suddenly, one of the conspirators turned. Ilara froze. The alien's eyes were wide, noticing a shadow move across the chamber. She ducked behind a floating panel, barely breathing. The conspirator scanned the room, then returned to his path, convinced it was nothing. Ilara took a deep breath and moved again. She reached the servant and, without hesitation, grabbed the device. The young alien struggled, but Ilara was stronger than she looked. With a twist, she secured the device and slipped it into her apron. The servant's eyes widened in shock. "Human, how?" he whispered. Ilara did not answer. There was no time. The other 2 conspirators were still approaching. She ran through the shifting platforms, careful not to fall into the deep, glowing pit below. Sparks flew from malfunctioning machinery as she moved. She could hear alarms faintly ringing, triggered by her intrusion. The conspirators shouted, realizing what had happened. One raised a strange weapon, aiming at her. Ilara jumped sideways, landing safely on a moving platform. She could feel the air pressure shifting around her as the chamber's machinery changed speed. The alien fired, but she ducked and ran, narrowly avoiding the blast. The chase continued through the chamber, twisting and floating, with Ilara leaping, ducking, and sliding. She remembered her training and kept her mind sharp. Humans were not the largest or the strongest species, but they were clever and quick. Using her intelligence, she lured one conspirator into a trap of his own making. A shifting floor panel dropped, and the alien stumbled, hitting the wall. The last alien realized he was alone and tried to escape through a hidden door. Ilara was faster. She caught him by the arm, pulling him back onto the platform. He struggled, but she held tight. "Stop this," she said firmly. "You will not harm the Emperor again." The Emperor's aide arrived just in time with 2 palace guards. They restrained the conspirators while Ilara retrieved the stolen devices. The heart devices were safe again. The Emperor, who had been watching from the balcony above, descended slowly. His golden scales shone in the light, and his eyes held a new respect for the human Maid. "You have done more than save my life," the Emperor said. "You have protected my empire from hidden danger. Your courage is remarkable." Ilara bowed slightly. "I only do what is necessary, Your Majesty." The crowd that had gathered watched silently, realizing that the human Maid had outsmarted the palace's most dangerous conspirators. Whispers spread quickly. Humans were clever, brave, and capable of actions that even the strongest aliens could not imagine. Ilara felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. She had chased and stopped those who wished harm upon the Emperor. She had proven that her skills were not just medicine, they were intelligence, strategy, and courage. Humans might be small, but they could think and act in ways others could not. The Emperor stepped forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have earned my trust. Not as a maid but as a guardian. I wish for you to stay by my side, human. You are valuable beyond measure. Elara smiled faintly. Her duty was never about recognition, but she felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had once again proven itself. Small, underestimated, but capable of incredible feats. As the palace returned to calm, Elara took a moment to rest. She knew the conspirators were imprisoned for now, but palace politics would never be simple. She would remain vigilant, ready for the next challenge. The human maid who had saved the emperor and stopped a secret attack was now a true guardian, her courage a silent testament to the strength of her species. And somewhere in the glowing towers and shifting chambers of the palace, Elara knew one thing for certain. She would never back down no matter what threats came next. The palace had returned to a quiet rhythm, but Elara remained alert. The conspirators were imprisoned, their devices secured, and the emperor's life was safe. Yet, the halls still hummed with whispers about the human maid who had saved the emperor twice. Even the highest nobles could not ignore her courage and skill. The emperor called for a private audience. Elara entered the grand chamber, her hands folded politely. The emperor stood before her, his golden scales gleaming in the sunlight that poured through the tall windows. His eyes, once sharp and commanding, now held warmth and respect. "Elara," he said, his deep voice echoing softly, "you have done more than save my life. You have protected the empire from a hidden threat. Your actions prove that courage and intelligence are not limited by species. You are remarkable." Elara bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what I could." The emperor smiled faintly. He gestured to a small pedestal in the center of the chamber. On it rested a glowing crystal, larger than the one he had given her before. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "This is the seal of the emperor," he explained. "It is the highest honor in our empire. By giving it to you, I declare that you are no longer merely a maid. You are my personal guardian and medic. Your place in the palace is secure, and your talents are recognized." Elara's heart raced. She had never expected such recognition. Her training, her courage, and her persistence had been seen and valued. She knelt to accept the crystal, feeling its warmth in her hands. It was a symbol of trust, respect, and responsibility. "You honor me, Your Majesty," she said quietly. The emperor stepped closer. "It is you who honor me, Elara. You have shown what humans are capable of: courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. Our empire will not forget this day." Outside the chamber, palace staff began to treat her differently. Nobles who had once ignored her bowed politely. Guards who had doubted her skills now watched her with respect. Even the other medics, who had scoffed at her human abilities, approached to learn from her. Elara felt a quiet pride. Humanity had earned recognition even among an alien race. Days passed and life slowly returned to normal, though Elara knew the palace would never be the same. She continued her duties as a maid, but her role had expanded. She was now the emperor's personal medic and guardian, a position of responsibility that carried both honor and danger. The emperor occasionally called her to his chambers, discussing strategy, palace security, and medical procedures. He trusted her judgment, often asking for her advice on matters beyond medicine. Elara realized that her actions had opened a new door. Humans were no longer seen as weak or unimportant, they were valuable allies and protectors. One evening, as she walked through the palace gardens, Elara reflected on the events. She remembered the first moment she had shouted, "I'm a medic, calm down." She had been scared, yet she had acted with confidence. That act had changed everything, not just for her but for how humans were seen in this alien world. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. The emperor stood nearby, watching the twin moons reflect on the water of the garden fountains. "You have done more than I could have imagined, Elara. You have proven that humans are extraordinary." Elara smiled. "I only did what I had to do. Anyone would act the same to protect someone's life." He shook his head. "No, humans are different. You act with heart, courage, and cleverness. You inspire loyalty and respect in ways even the strongest alien cannot. Your species has great potential." Elara felt a warmth in her chest, not from pride, but from the understanding that humans, though small in size, could make a difference in even the largest and most alien of worlds. She realized that her journey had only begun. The palace would continue to face threats, and the emperor would rely on her skill and judgment. Over the next weeks, she trained new palace medics, taught them basic human medical techniques, and helped establish protocols for future emergencies. Her influence spread quietly, but it was felt throughout the palace. The emperor often observed her work from a distance, nodding in approval. Finally, during a grand ceremony, the emperor spoke before all the nobles. "Today we honor bravery, intelligence, and loyalty," he declared. "Among us is a human, a maid who saved my life twice, and whose courage has protected this empire. Let her example remind us that strength comes not from size or appearance, but from heart and mind." The crowd erupted in cheers. Ilara stood quietly, a small smile on her face. She had never sought fame, but she understood its value in changing hearts and minds. Humans were now seen as equals, capable of heroism and wisdom. That night, as the palace slept, Ilara walked through the quiet corridors. She paused at the emperor's chamber, hearing the soft hum of the heart device, steady and strong. Her work had saved a life, protected an empire, and earned respect for her species. She felt proud, calm, and ready for whatever came next. A human maid, once unnoticed, had become a symbol of courage and hope. And the galaxy would remember her deeds, not as a servant but as a hero.